Brothers. The most commonly asked question that we get about the flat earth truth that at the moment is a bit difficult to confess, but is getting ever more dominant, ever more powerful in the world of ideas, is what does it matter? If you are not an agent, if you're not a JIDF rat, then you don't really care what other people think about the nature of the world. Some guy could be talking about a cube earth or hollow or some other insane crap. And you don't care about it because you don't have the profit incentive. You're not trying to be a slave master. You're not interested in enslaving other people. So it doesn't turn on any red alarms for you when you hear that other people might be thinking about other ideas. But it really, really scares the crap out of Freemasons, Pharisees, Chinese, communists that you would possibly be considering something other than their Moloch, child-eating, cannibalistic, enslaving ball. So actually, when we hear the question from somebody, well, why does it matter? That's a good sign. That's a good sign that this person is thinking and that they are not part of that enslaving system. And it's difficult for them to grasp why it would be important. What does it matter if we are in a traditional cosmology or if we are on a ball spinning? The difference is that in the traditional cosmology, you matter. You are important. And you are on the same level as everyone else. That doesn't mean you're equal, but you're on the same playing field, as we like to say. In the ball theory, you are being told that you are nothing. You are literally nothing to Carl Sagan, Ian Schwein, and all the rest of those. Neil deGrasse Tyson. You are nothing. You are less than nothing. This is how slave drivers view their slaves. And the way they tell you you're nothing is not really all that hard to understand. It's just one little trick. And the rest of it is easy for them. They are not very bright people. So if the trick were complicated, they wouldn't be capable of doing it. The trick, the way they tell you to your face every day, every news broadcast, everywhere you see that ball spinning and flying in your face and spinning and doing its thing and being bally, it's telling you you're nothing by using these insanely huge numbers that you could never understand. So when they tell you 1 million, even just 1 million, they do this in kosher or finance as well. Do you know what 1 million looks like? If I showed you 500,000 or 2 million, would you know which one was how much? You have no concept of this. Human beings have a hard time understanding or conceptualizing what 100 people would look like. So when they're using these numbers, millions, billions, and today I read an interesting number, sextillion, they are pushing onto you nihilism. Nihilism is the idea that you're nothing. It's a form of slavery. Why does all kosher science, why do Chosenites drive you toward nihilism? Because they're enslaving you. They're stealing your mind. They're taking everything you could possibly have in this life. It's over with. When you take their spiel, hook, line, and sinker, you are becoming their goy slave. That's it. And they use these numbers. If they tell you the Earth is 4.5 billion years old, because they can't show you how evilution could possibly work. They've never done it in a lab. They've never shown it to you. Even these cretins have to admit it's a theory because they can't prove any of this, and they never will because it's false. They use these huge numbers. So the huge numbers themselves are what they believe to be a form of magic. If I can't show you how one animal turns into another kind of animal in this world, in this life, in my laboratory, in some repeatable experiment, then I just add more time. And if you're a slave, if you're ready to be a goy, a golem, then you're going to believe that. You'll think, well, it's not possible in my lifetime, but it's possible in billions of years. And while they are stupid, you would be stupider for believing them. Right? Because we're told that science is demonstratable. It's facts. We look at what we experience. We analyze it correctly. We share our analysis with our friends. We tell them our method of how we analyzed. And then we form repeatable experiments that we can do. And these things are called facts. And that's what constitutes the body of actual science that exists, which is very little. It's almost nothing. It's almost zero of what modern scientists talk about. Because we don't see the world getting better. We don't live under better and better conditions. Each generation of children does not have a better set of genes. They have a worse set. It's called genetic entropy. We do not have better and better nutrition. It's called genetically modified. It's called conventional, petrochemical. These things that destroy nutrition, poison our bodies. It gets worse every year. God is trying to reach out to you. God is trying to tell you the nature, the true nature of the world that He created for you. Unlike what the Satanists say, you cannot escape this world. The true model of the earth is enclosed. We are under water. We are in, effectively, a submarine. And we can't get out. We're never going to be smarter than God, like the Talmud says. The Talmud says that a kosher can outsmart God, that he can trick God, and God will admit he's smarter. It's preposterous. It's a theme in all of their movies. You cannot escape the cycle of death and rebirth if you do not grasp chastity, and you will not escape that cycle if you do not grasp the flat disk earth under the firmament. If you cannot grasp that, if you see that the Bible is the most published book in the world, and that's just one of the traditional books that has the true cosmology in it, all of our ancestors from all the different races provide us with a true cosmology. From the Buddhists, the Hindus, the Taoists, everyone. If we're talking about all throughout the Middle East, the Babylonians, the Hittites, whoever you want to look up, the ancient Greeks, not the Freemasons, but the ancient Greeks, not the ones that are necessarily published a lot, but the traditional view. All of astrology, Greek astrology, posits that the constellations are spinning around us. This is key, people. And if you don't get this before you die, you will have to be reborn as much as it probably will be a lesser being, because successive generations of humans are successively of lesser quality. God is trying to tell you this truth. And if you don't see it, if you don't read it, if you don't stop for 5 minutes today and open up a simple video like of Eric Dubé's that explains the simplest proofs of the flat disk earth under the firmament as described in Genesis, Job, and all of the Bible, throughout all the Bible, consistently in over 70 scriptures in our Bible, then you're lost. You cannot break free of that slavery that is that ball. Because once you say we're on a ball and we're spinning, then you add all the billions and the millions, all these numbers that you cannot grasp, light years, all this stuff that no one could possibly understand. You would be believing that you're nothing. You're literally nothing. That this lifetime of yours is nothing. It amounts to no time in the grand scheme. Your life amounts to no life in the grand scheme. The earth, this place, amounts to nothing in the grand scheme of the universe, masonically. You can either accept the obvious that God is showing you. Polaris doesn't move. It's there. It's always over the north. How do you explain it's not moving? How do you explain that the stars, they're not spiraling away, or that we don't see different constellations every night of the week? Constellations that have never been seen before because we're flying around the earth at 1,000,000 miles an hour. If you believe that, then you're still enslaved. You're still in the matrix. You still can't escape your rebirth. You can't get to heaven. You can't be with God. The trick to being a holy man, the trick to being a spiritual person, to seeking and also finding, is that you will become one with God. You'll become an angel, a higher being, a greater part of the total consciousness that is above there, that is localized around Polaris. It is the top of that tree of life that's going through the North Pole. Because the Satanists believe in the Bible too. All of the koshers believe in the traditional cosmology too. You see it in all their movies. The difference is they think that they can eventually rebel against God, and they can break out of the firmament, like in the Hunger Games. Oh, I'm going to shoot an arrow, I'll break the firmament, and I'll trick God. I'm smarter than God. And that is pretty stupid. It's almost like your dog believing he's smarter than you, and not listening to what you're telling him to do. And dogs like that end up in the pound, right? That's what they do. They end up in the pound, they end up dead. Because they don't understand that at least humanity is a higher intelligence than themselves. What do we say a good dog is? Is one that obeys and that shows affection. Even though they don't understand us, they try to understand us. These are good dogs. And we want to be good servants to God. Though we're never going to fully understand God, obey the commands, show affection, stay on the path. This is how you get closer and closer to God. This is how you'll succeed. Seems like flat earth is not a chastity topic. And I guess technically it's not in the KBH anywhere else. If you think it's a ball or a square, cube, or a hole or whatever you want, in a way, we don't really care. That's not the essence of our teaching. We want to bring to you chastity and meditation. We want to be an inspiration to you. But technically speaking, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get out of this matrix until you get on board with flat earth and figure it out. Seriously, you know more than what 6,000 years of our ancestors knew? You think deGrasse Tyson is telling you the truth? That he knows more than 6,000 years of our ancestors, all of our traditions, all of our holy books. Our legends are the things that have built our bones, where our blood comes from. All of them were stupid, and he's smart. Respect your ancestors, respect your heritage, your culture, and give them, your ancestors, the benefit of the doubt. Learn what they believed, learn how they saw things, and why it makes a lot more sense. Instead of Polaris being millions of miles away, and that's why we don't see it moving, it's not moving from being over the North Pole because it's not moving. No scientist can detect the parallax shift. Ian Swine admitted that. He said that visually we'll never see any evidence that the Earth is moving. Isn't that interesting? Ian Swine, in his lifetime, had a crusade against common sense. He said, common sense tells us the earth is flat. And then he tried to destroy that. He tried to say, well, no, it's a ball. You're nothing. You're slaves to my cult, to my group, my mafia of bankers, pornographers. You're a slave. You have to believe you're a slave of us. And they try to threaten you with that. Iron Swine tried to threaten us and say he invented some miraculous bomb that could blow everything up with the push of one button. And that turns out to be a lie too. Look it up. There's no such thing. Free yourself from this matrix. Brothers. That you would possibly be considering something other than their Moloch, child-eating, cannibalistic, enslaving ball. So actually, when we hear the question from somebody, well, why does it matter? That's a good sign. That's a good sign that this person is thinking more dominant, ever more powerful in the world of ideas. Is, what does it matter? If you are not an agent, if you're not a JIDF rat, then you don't really care what other people think about, interested in enslaving other people, so it doesn't turn on any red alarms for you when you hear that other people might be thinking about other ideas. But it really, really scares the crap out of Freemasons, Pharisees, Chinese, communists, that the nature of the world. Some guy could be talking about a cube Earth or hollow or some other insane crap. And you don't care about it because you don't have the profit incentive. You're not trying to be a slave master. You're not. Brothers. The most commonly asked question that we get about the flat earth truth, that at the moment is a bit difficult to confess, but is getting